And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. A lot of important things going on. So please hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share with family and friends, because together as a community, we must stand strong. Now, I want to talk to you about something that's really upset me terribly. Upset me so much that it's actually the topic that I wrote about on my Substack this morning. And I titled, Say Her Name. Virginia Giuffre deserved better. Because there are stories that fade with time, headlines that scream for a day, I don't know, maybe two, before being swallowed whole by the next scandal, the next distraction, the next excuse to move on. But the Epstein scandal? No. The Epstein crimes refuse to be buried. And they shouldn't be, because the truth has a heartbeat. Again, her name was Virginia Giuffre. She was more than a headline, more than a witness, more than a plaintiff. She was a daughter. She was a sister. She was a mother. She was a survivor. And now she's gone, dead by suicide. And her family, the people who knew her best, who saw what this did to her, who fought beside her, and now are left behind, saying the quiet part out loud. Here's what they said. It's time for these monsters to be exposed. Damn right it is. Virginia Giuffre's family, the four of them joined CNN last night, and they spoke with Kate and Collins. Let's take a fast look. Play the clip.
She wasn't stolen. She was preyed upon at his property, at President Trump's property. And I think it's very important that we don't treat it like stolen. Seems very impersonal. It feels very much like an object. And these survivors are not objects. Women are not objects. What goes through my mind is that it's time to protect survivors, and it's time to protect the young women and our future generation of young women. So no, she wasn't stolen. She was preyed upon. And it certainly makes you kind of ask the question, how much he knew during that time, right? Even a couple of years later, even after he, I believe he had stated something along the lines of cutting off communication or kicking him out. He described Jeffrey Epstein as somebody who really enjoyed being around young women. And so she was preyed upon. She wasn't stolen. That's a predator that came and took her and did absolutely horrible things to her and so many other women out there. I think one for me is, when are we going to start believing survivors? I think that's a very powerful one, and it's certainly something every survivor feels. We've had the opportunity to speak with so many powerful survivors out there, and I think it's important their voices get to be heard. I think another question that I have, and it pertains to we already talked through why Ghislaine Maxwell should not even be considered remotely by the Department of Justice to be released or get some sort of pardon. But I think the other thing that we need to speak about is, why aren't the documents being released? And so we want that question answered. We want to know, why aren't the documents being released? They deserve justice. These survivors had something taken away from them they can never get back. And it's time for these monsters to be exposed and get something they can never get back, which is their freedom.
If that doesn't shred your soul, let me be very clear about something. This isn't about Jeffrey Epstein, the predator who died before he could be held accountable. This is about the machine that protected him, that enabled him, that benefited from his power and stayed silent while underage girls were trafficked, branded as liars, and told that their pain was inconvenient. And it's about the Department of Justice. And you all hear me talk about the DOJ, the very institution that's actually tasked with defending the vulnerable, that somehow found the will to give Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted trafficker, a freaking microphone, a platform. They gave her a voice. Very shocked the DOJ gave Maxwell a voice. That's what Virginia's family said. And shocked? It's an understatement. Now, let me be clear about something. Maxwell, she was sentenced for trafficking children. Full stop. No questions here. And yet, she's been allowed to craft some public narrative from behind bars, casting herself as misunderstood or the real victim here, as someone with something who has something left to say. While Virginia, the woman who stood up, who spoke truth when others wouldn't, was met with disbelief, was met with smear campaigns and relentless scrutiny until the weight of it all just became too unbearable for her. My friends, that's not justice. It's betrayal. And we should stop pretending that this is about politics. It is not. Let me say that again. We must stop pretending that this is about politics. This is about people. It's about the victims. It's about Virginia. When are we going to start believing survivors? That's another quote that her family said last night. Let me be clear about something. It's not a question. It's a dare. It's a challenge to a system that has made doubt the default and silence the price of peace. Because the truth is this, Virginia, she spent her life screaming into a void padded by NDAs, by billion-dollar reputations and institutions terrified of exposure. She told her story. She named names. She stood alone in rooms full of lawyers and cameras and the judgment of the world. And still, they made her prove it over and over and over again. She wasn't stolen. She was preyed upon, and her family. They said it plainly. They said it loudly and clearly. Virginia Giuffre wasn't stolen. She was preyed upon at President Trump's property. That matters. It really matters. And not because of politics, but because it shows just how close that this rot got to power. Because predators, they don't hide in shadows. They hide in plain sight, protected by wealth, by status, and the complicity of everyone who chose comfort over truth. But this was never about revenge for Virginia. It was about accountability. She wanted her Epstein files released. That was her dying wish. She wanted light where there had only been darkness and silence. She wanted the names unsealed, the records open, the web of secrecy torn apart. She wasn't afraid. She knew what it meant to ask for that as well. And what did the DOJ do? They handed the fucking microphone to her trafficker. You want to talk about institutional failure? It's what it looks like. When the woman who helped expose a global trafficking network ends up dead, and the woman who helped run that network gets airtime, that's a real problem. You see, Virginia should be here, watching the world finally take her seriously, watching the files come out, watching the monsters fall. Instead, she's gone. And we're left here, asking what we could have done, what we should have done, and whether we still have the courage to do it now. Because this isn't over, not by a long shot. Why? Because the names are still sealed, the files still buried. Survivors still afraid to speak out because they saw what happened to the one who did. So no, the Epstein crimes not going to go away, and they shouldn't. Not until we have released every single document. Not until we've stopped giving microphones to the guilty and silence to the brave. Not until the system that failed Virginia is held accountable for the cost of her truth. See, this country loves to talk about justice, but justice without action, it's just performance. Justice without accountability, it's just PR. And justice without survivors, it's a graveyard. Virginia, she deserved better. Her family deserves better. And the next girl, sitting somewhere in silence, wondering if it's worth it to speak, she deserves to live in a world where Virginia Giuffre was believed. We owe her that. Every damn one of us. And the only way we begin to pay it back is this. No more forgetting. No more silence. No more complicity. The truth has a heartbeat, and we will not let it die. I write these words in order to impress on you the importance of platforms like this, the importance of being active, of not turning around and showing apathy. The second that we show apathy, we lose, they win. More stories stay buried. More survivors refuse to come out and talk. No accountability will be had. And that's wrong on so many levels. And that's why I'm going to ask you again. Subscribe, share, comment. I want your comments. It's extremely important. Help to build this community so stuff like this never ever happens again. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey everyone, first of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.